Well, it's been an interesting couple of weeks actually, talking about the marina and also, of course, the new flood defences in Ramsey, which was the latest news to drop from DOI this last couple of weeks. Certainly, there's been more information put out since then. But anyway, Robin's joining us here from the Ramsey Marina Group. How long ago since we first talked about this?
We launched it early March 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Were you surprised, or did you know, or what was going on when you saw that flood defence plans put in?
No, we've had several meetings with DOI and DEFA about the flood defences, and we had been told we had to wait because it was all under work, and which we have been doing so.
So the first you knew was like everyone else then, was it, when it dropped last
couple
weeks ago?
I got a phone call saying, "Have you seen the flood hub?" And I went, "What?"
That must obviously affect your plans. I mean, this is why you're here.
Well,
it
reinforces our plans in the sense that we can show very well that the breakwater will prevent the wave action on the promenade. If I'm allowed to sort of just dive into technology, waves are formed by vertical motion of water molecules, and of course, as it hits a beach, then it bounces up in the air, and which is what causes all the spray and everything to go over the promenade. Yeah. Our breakwater we're proposing is on the edge of the 6 metre line, so it hasn't hit the shallow water, so it is still relatively calm compared with what you would face on the beach. And if you read the latest letter from the DOI they put up in the flood hub, they're saying that the biggest risk is actually overtopping by wave action, and we would agree. And therefore I have offered to DOI that we can, when we go to HR Wallingford, which is the big research institution in Oxfordshire, and they model 1/10 model scale of this and make sure that all the waves behave as we expect them to. I said, look, we can model it in such a way that we can take into account what you want to have in terms of wave protection right up to the pier.
I mean, to some degree, I think most people thought this all had gone away, your plans, because we hadn't heard much about you for ages, and suddenly resurgence becomes an election issue, which I don't want to get into that side because that's for the politicians.
Yeah.
But you have not gone away. I mean, you are still keen, are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Even more so. And let me just provide two answers to that question. We were put through a 15-month expression of interest process, and if you recall, they put out an FOI information the evening before I was acquitted in that famous court case, rather unexpectedly. And of course, immediately after that, we went into COVID and lockdown, and of course, DOI and the Attorney General's office didn't have the bandwidth to be able to continue our discussions.
Right.
Yeah. So they're ongoing.
There's many different sections I know you want to talk about what you're doing, and that's fine by me because I think this is exactly the place we can talk about it with time. I mean, you've given me a heading here of leisure.
Yeah.
So let's break it down then. Leisure for what you're proposing.
I mean, yes, you could be able to park your boat in the marina, but you'll be able to do a tremendous amount more of every form of boating. Yeah, so there's a very large slipway, oversized, so that people, whether it's power boaters, fishing boats, trailered fishing boats, or people wanting to launch their dinghies to go racing in the bay, it will be that. Alongside that will be what we're going to refer to as the National Maritime Sports Centre. This is modelled on the United Kingdom Sailing Academy down in the Isle of Wight, whereby we can literally take people from learning to begin to boat, whether it's paddleboarding, kite surfing or dinghy sailing, right the way through up to MCA professional qualifications, working with Isle of Man Maritime.
Right. There's more, I mean, obviously tourism comes into this.
Yeah.
This is boats visiting the Isle of Man, putting money into the local economy. I mean, that's a given, isn't it? That's one of the big selling points you're pushing on.
I mean, here in front of me, as you can see, I've got endless reports. We've got the Awakening the Giant is the name of the programme in Scotland. £200 million going into 47 locations.
47 locations?
47 locations, most of it on the west coast.
From government or private?
All from government.
Right.
And now the marine leisure industry in Scotland employs more people in the oil industry. So
that's an interesting fact.
Yeah. That's on the government website.
Oh, right.
I keep being told I have to
you need to
reference the number. It's on the go to the Scottish government website and you can find it. The Welsh, the Irish, north and south, are trying to replace this, as are the Channel Islands, and basically we're all in the same game. Is that Post-Brexit, a lot of Englishmen have brought their boats back from the Med. All the marinas in the south coast are full again for the first time in 15 years. And of course, not everybody wants to jump into an EasyJet plane with a mask on to go on holiday. So there's a lot more UK staycation type holidays, and this is all feeding into a huge growth in marine leisure. And where are we as an island? Right at the crossroads of it. We've got huge density of traffic passing the door, which could become tourism.
The environment, though, is obviously a big issue here. I mean, how are you going to sell this when the beach is going to be closed, moved, whatever you want to call it, and basically a lot of changes, and people don't like change, that's a fair given thing.
No.
How can you play this environmental thing in a positive spin? And I'm dying to hear how you're going to say this to me, because I know it comes up all the time.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me it's going to be great.
There's two very different answers to the question, right?
Right.
And first of all, the breakwater we'll use natural rock rather than the concrete tetrapods they've got on Queen Alexandra Pier. Yeah. So it'll all be natural, and that, rather than a wave-lashed beach, will be lots of nooks and crannies for fish and crustaceans to incubate there, and therefore, if anything, we'll be a net contributor to the local fish population.
But you're disturbing what's there. I mean, whenever you cannot get past that, you're going to literally...
The wiggly worms, yeah.
It's more than that, isn't it? Is it more than wiggly worms?
Like what?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Well, there's a lot...
other people are going to tell me there's lots of other things in there.
But there's a lot of there's a long list from DEFRA of all the wiggly worms, and don't ask me all the Latin names. But there's that'll all be assessed as part of the environmental impact assessment, right?
Yeah. But people are going to lose the beach, right? Let's deal with that.
Well, we're going to create another all-tide beach, right? I mean, if in the fullness of time, and it might be 5 years, if you read the latest email. Yeah. But
you're not going to get. You're not going to get responses for 5 years. Isn't that part of this thing that this could drag on for that long? Which is the whole Parliament term.
This is another issue. And
I'm pulling you.
Probably DOI will murder me for saying this, but the 2016 report that JBA did pointed that Ramsey was number one risk on the island, and there was a 1 in 10 year risk of major inundation affecting over 1,000 properties. And with a total damage bill of around £115 million. Now, I can't believe they're going to be...
hence they've got their ideas. That's why they're putting in their flood, right, protection.
Yeah.
But I'm gathering you're saying basically you're going to deal a lot with that by this...
Yeah.
This
so, I mean, we've got a drawing which we'll put up on our website. Literally, it's hot off the press. I've just picked it up 10 minutes ago.
It's quite interesting. Okay.
Where we've overlain the marina just to show how it fits in with the...
Does it work? Could it work? Both plans?
Now, the other part of the question...
is
in terms of tidal surge, we can plan for the 1 in 200 year event, right? Yeah. So we can finish the grade level of the development at any height, within reason, clearly, that we agree with DOI, yeah? So therefore, we provide the natural barrier in that reclaimed 7 hectares, except a short strip from about 100 metres long from the edge of the reclamation to the South Pier, where they're going to stop it anyway.
But back to this thing, didn't the DOI, the information now, it's at least 5 years away or something?
My argument would be that they haven't got 5 years to wait. The last major flood, if you remember rightly, was 2014.
Right.
So that's 7 years. So there's a 1 in 10 year risk. So that's 3 years to go.
Just in 5 years, seems like a whole Parliament could go by without any
action.
Okay. Little charm offensives. You talk about a little museum of some description, I think, in your plans as well.
Yeah. No.
Charm offensive.
Charm offensive. No. It all ties in with several other threads in the overall proposal. Which is to set up the Celtic route and market that coming from Brittany northwards. And whilst that's primarily designed to encourage people to sail up the Irish Sea and stop off here, clearly, but we see a huge opportunity to tie that into the Celtic heritage and the Viking heritage. Within the plans, there is room for a National Maritime Heritage Museum.
In your plans?
Your plans, yeah.
And who will run that?
We will offer it to Manx Heritage to run.
At no cost?
At no cost, yeah. And because if you look at some of the data that we've got from some of the research work done, one of the top 5 things that yachtsmen like to do when they visit a place is go to a museum. Right. So if we can do that, tie that in with the heritage, the schools can become involved, as they could with sailing as a part of an extracurricular activity with all the schools. So we can actually tie all the schools into this and have exercises and programs developing the local culture.